The Awakening. Commander Sarah Chen stood at the observation deck of the ESS Hyperion, humanity's most advanced deep space vessel. The massive ship, stretching nearly 15 kilometers from bow to stern, represented humanity's rebirth after centuries of isolation. Through the quantum glass viewport, the glittering expanse of the Orion Arm stretched before her, each star a potential harbor of both promise and threat. Quantum distortion detected, Commander, reported Dr. Marcus Webb, his dark fingers dancing across the neural interface. Multiple signatures, bearing 03 Mark 7. Sarah's augmented eyes automatically zoomed in on the coordinates, their enhanced spectrum analysis revealing what conventional sensors couldn't: the telltale ripples of approaching starships. After 200 years of hiding in the darkness between stars, perfecting their technology, and rebuilding their civilization, humanity was about to announce their return to the galactic stage. Analysis, she asked, her voice steady despite the gravity of the moment. 7 vessels, Commander. Configuration suggests Helios Confederation design. Their quantum shielding is primitive. They're leaving a wake signature that our youngest cadets would be embarrassed by. Sarah allowed herself a small smile. The Confederation. They'd been monitoring their broadcasts for decades. Self-proclaimed peacekeepers of this sector, they maintained order through technological superiority over their protectorate species, or at least what they thought was superiority. Life signs. Primarily Helios biosignatures. Majority crystalline-based. Their ships are running hot, lot of wasted energy in their drive systems. Marcus shook his head. They really haven't figured out quantum containment, have they? Status of our cloak. Holding perfect, Commander. They're passing right through our ghost field. To them, we're just another patch of empty space. The Helios ships, sleek crystalline constructs that would have seemed impossibly advanced 2 centuries ago, moved through space with what Sarah now recognized as almost clumsy grace. Their sensors swept the region, standard patrol pattern, completely unaware that they were being watched by a vessel that could have destroyed their entire fleet before they registered its presence. Their broadcasting, Communications Officer Yuki Tanaka reported, her cybernetic temporal lobe processing the alien transmissions in real time. Standard patrol chatter. They're complaining about being assigned to this empty sector. One of them just made a joke about how humans probably went extinct centuries ago. The bridge crew shared knowing looks. Humanity hadn't gone extinct. They'd gone to ground, learned, evolved, and transformed themselves. The loss of Earth had taught them the price of complacency, but it had also taught them something else: how to turn defeat into overwhelming advantage. Prep the reveal sequence, Sarah ordered. Let's show them exactly how not extinct we are. The bridge crew moved with practiced precision. The Hyperion's quantum ghost field began to shift, not simply disappearing but transforming in a carefully choreographed sequence designed to demonstrate their complete mastery over space-time itself. First, they allowed the Helios ships to detect a quantum anomaly. Then, gradually, the Hyperion revealed itself, seemingly materializing from nothing, its massive form dwarfing the Confederation patrol. The ship's outer hull, covered in geometric patterns that functioned as both art and incredibly advanced technology, began to pulse with subtle light, a display that would seem almost magical to their observers. The reaction was immediate and predictable. The Helios ships scattered into defensive formations, their weapons charging. Primitive energy weapons that the Hyperion's quantum shields would barely register. They're broadcasting on all frequencies, Yuki reported, demanding identification. Their language suggests significant concern. Open a channel. Sarah commanded. Full spectrum, let them see us. The main view screen flickered to life, revealing the crystalline form of a Helios commander. Its faceted surface reflected light in patterns that their xenologists had long ago learned to read as expressions. Right now, it was showing fear mixed with disbelief. "This is Commander Sarah Chen of the Earth Strategic Ship Hyperion," she announced, allowing their eye to translate. "We represent the human species. You may have heard of us. The Helios commander's crystalline surface rippled in what their database identified as extreme surprise. Impossible, it responded, its translated voice carrying harmonics of disbelief. The humans were a primitive species that destroyed themselves centuries ago. Sarah smiled, but there was steel in her expression. I assure you, we did not destroy ourselves. We simply decided to step back, reassess, evolve, and now we're ready to rejoin galactic society. She paused meaningfully. The question is galactic society ready for us? The Hyperion's external lights pulsed once, causing the Helios ship's sensors to momentarily overload. A small demonstration of their technological gap. We have been watching. Sarah continued. We've seen how the Confederation treats its protectorate species. We've observed your policies, your restrictions on technological development, your methods of maintaining order. The Helios commander's surface now showed patterns indicating diplomatic caution. Our methods ensure peace and stability across 12 sectors. They ensure stagnation and submission, Sarah corrected. And that era is now over. Humanity has returned, and we will not stand idle while sentient species are denied their right to grow and evolve. As if to emphasize her point, the Hyperion's quantum field fluctuated slightly, causing ripples in space-time that the Helios ship's sensors would definitely detect, and their crews would definitely understand the implications of. You would challenge the entire Confederation, the Helios commander demanded, its patterns showing a mix of fear and anger. Challenge, Sarah replied, her voice carrying centuries of human determination. No, we're not here to challenge the Confederation. We're here to change it. Humanity remembers being considered primitive. We remember being dismissed, and we've spent centuries ensuring we'll never be dismissed again. She gestured to her crew, and the Hyperion's quantum field expanded slightly, enveloping the Helios ships in a bubble of altered space-time. Their engines sputtered and died, their weapons powered down, and for a moment they hung helpless in space. That, Sarah said calmly, was a demonstration, a reminder that technology gaps can be overcome, that primitive species can evolve. Consider it your first lesson in the new galactic order. With another gesture, she released the ships from the quantum field. Return to your superiors. Tell them humanity has returned, and we bring two options. Cooperation in creating a more equitable galaxy, or she let the Hyperion's lights pulse once more. A demonstration of why oppressing lesser species is a very, very bad idea. As the Helios ships hastily retreated, Sarah turned to her crew. Send word to the fleet. Operation Dawn begins now. She looked back at the stars, her augmented eyes picking out the distant lights of thousands of civilizations about to learn that humanity had not only survived, they had transcended. The galaxy's about to change, she said softly. Let's make sure it changes for the better. Lines in the stars. The Hyperion's command center hummed with activity as reports flooded in from across the sector. Within hours of their revelation to the Helios Patrol, the Confederation's response had begun, exactly as humanity had predicted. 7th Fleet movement detected at coordinates 227 Mark 43. Marcus reported, his neural interface processing massive streams of quantum sensor data. They're attempting to establish a containment perimeter. Sarah watched the tactical display with calculated interest as red dots representing Confederation vessels moved into position. They were trying to box in what they thought was humanity's territory. The irony almost made her laugh. They still think we're limited to this sector, Lieutenant Yuki observed, her cybernetic systems analyzing Confederation communications. They haven't realized we've been everywhere for decades. Show me the protectorate worlds within their containment zone, Sarah commanded. The display shifted, highlighting dozens of inhabited systems. Each one represented a species held back by Confederation protection. Civilizations forced to develop along approved paths, their growth stunted by artificial restrictions. New transmission from Confederation High Command, Yuki announced. They're demanding we power down our quantum systems and prepare for inspection. They're citing Protocol 7 Alpha, the containment procedures for potentially destabilizing civilizations. Sarah's augmented eyes narrowed. Send them our response. Implementation code. Truth reveal. Throughout the bridge, crew members straightened. They'd practiced this moment for years, but the reality carried a weight that no simulation could match. Across Confederation space, quantum beacons previously hidden on every protectorate world activated simultaneously. Each one began broadcasting proof of Confederation oppression. Documented evidence of suppressed innovations, forced technological regression, and the systematic keeping of entire species in artificial dark ages. Confederation communications channels are exploding, Yuki reported, a slight smile playing on her lips. The protectorate worlds are. They're all receiving the data. The Confederation can't block it. They don't even understand how our quantum transmitters work. Multiple protectorate defense forces are powering up, Marcus added. The Arcturians have already disabled their Confederation advisors. The Vega Collective is demanding immediate withdrawal of all Confederation personnel. Sarah nodded slowly. And now we wait for their real response. It came within minutes. The Confederation fleet began advancing, weapons charged. Their crystalline ships blazed with energy readings that would have seemed godlike to humanity 2 centuries ago. Now they just seemed desperate. They're targeting the quantum beacons, Marcus reported. Attempting conventional jamming. And failing. Their weapon systems are powering up. They're broadcasting on all frequencies, Yuki added, declaring us an Omega-level threat to galactic stability. They're ordering the protectorate worlds to disregard our transmissions. Sarah's expression hardened. Deploy the rest of the fleet. Implementation code. Guardian rising. The space around the Hyperion shimmered as quantum fields shifted. One by one, massive ships materialized. Humanity's full defense fleet, hidden in dimensional pocket spaces throughout Confederation territory. Each vessel was the equal of the Hyperion, and each had been stationed near critical protectorate worlds for exactly this moment. All ships reporting ready, Marcus announced. Quantum networks synchronized. We have coverage of all major Confederation military installations. The Confederation fleet halted its advance, their sensors finally registering the true scope of what they faced. Sarah could almost feel their confusion and fear. They'd thought they were containing the newly emerged threat. Instead, they were surrounded by an armada that had been in place for years. Open a channel to their flagship, Sarah ordered. Let's see if they're ready to discuss the future. The view screen activated, showing a panel of senior Helios commanders. Their crystalline surfaces rippled with patterns that their xenologists identified as rage, fear, and most importantly, dawning comprehension. You don't seem to understand your situation, the lead commander began, but Sarah cut them off. No, you don't understand yours, she stated firmly. Look at your tactical displays. Really look. Those aren't just warships we've deployed. They're liberation ships. Each one carries enough quantum technology to elevate an entire civilization beyond your ability to control them. She let that sink in before continuing. For centuries, you've played the role of benevolent guardians, protecting lesser species from themselves. You justified it as maintaining stability, preventing the chaos of unrestricted growth. But we remember being on the other side of that equation. The tactical display updated, showing more protectorate worlds breaking free from Confederation control. The quantum beacons had done their work, the truth was out, and centuries of carefully maintained control were unraveling. You have a choice, Sarah continued. You can accept that the age of Confederation dominance is over and help us transition to a new galactic order based on genuine cooperation and unrestricted growth. Or, she let the Hyperion's quantum field pulse slightly, causing static in their transmission. You can learn firsthand why humanity spent centuries preparing for this moment. The lead commander's surface showed patterns of calculation. You would risk galactic war. We would prevent galactic stagnation. Sarah corrected. Look at your history. Real progress, real innovation, it doesn't come from control. It comes from freedom, from the drive to overcome challenges. You've been smothering that drive across dozens of worlds. She gestured, and the tactical display showed more human ships emerging from quantum space near key Confederation worlds. We're not asking permission. We're giving notification. The era of Confederation dominance is over. The only question is whether you'll be remembered as the leadership that wisely chose to evolve, or the regime that had to be removed for the good of all species. The Confederation commander surfaces showed rapid shifts of color and pattern as they communicated among themselves. Finally, the lead commander spoke again. You realize this will cause chaos. Many of these species aren't ready for advanced technology. Sarah smiled. That's exactly what your predecessors said about humanity. How did that work out for them? Before they could respond, new alerts flashed across the tactical display. Multiple quantum signatures detected, Marcus reported. The Arcturians, they're activating something at their core worlds. The display showed massive energy readings as ancient devices, hidden for centuries, began powering up. Across Confederation space, other Protectorate worlds were doing the same. Did you really think we were the only ones preparing for this day? Sarah asked the stunned Confederation commanders. We just helped provide the opportunity. Now, shall we discuss the terms of galactic reorganization? As the old order began crumbling around them, Sarah felt a deep satisfaction. Humanity had returned to the galactic stage, not as conquerors, but as liberators. The real challenge, helping guide dozens of newly freed civilizations into a new age of unrestricted growth, was just beginning. But this time, no species would face that challenge alone. The price of freedom. The next 48 hours transformed the galaxy. Sarah watched from the Hyperion's command center as centuries of Confederation control unraveled with breathtaking speed. But with freedom came chaos, and with chaos came opportunity. For both good and ill. Multiple distress signals detected, Marcus reported, his voice tense. The Confederation's Third Fleet is conducting punitive strikes against Protectorate worlds that declared independence. They're targeting civilian infrastructure. Sarah's augmented eyes flashed with controlled anger. Location: the Vega sector. 3 primary targets: Vega Prime, New Arcturus, and... Marcus paused, his expression darkening. They're approaching the Centauri refugee colonies. The bridge fell silent. The Centauri, survivors of a civilization nearly wiped out by the Confederation's peacekeeping a century ago. Their crime had been developing quantum technology without permission. Now they were about to face destruction again. Not this time, Sarah whispered. Then, louder. Battle stations. Alert the fleet. Implementation code. Defiant shield. The Hyperion's quantum drive engaged, folding space around the massive vessel. They emerged in the Vega sector moments later, along with 12 other human ships that had been waiting for this moment. The Confederation fleet, caught in the act of positioning for their attack runs, froze. Confederation vessels, Sarah broadcast, her voice carrying the weight of humanity's resolve. You are engaging in attacks against civilian targets. This ends now. These worlds are in rebellion. The Confederation admiral responded, his crystalline form pulsing with aggressive patterns. We are restoring order, as is our right and duty. Your rights and duties are based on lies, Sarah countered. But if you want to discuss rights, she nodded to Marcus. The Hyperion's quantum fields shifted, revealing what the Confederation sensors had missed. A massive fleet of ships hidden behind dimensional veils. But these weren't human vessels. They were Centauri ships, preserved and upgraded over the decades by human engineers. Remember these? Sarah asked. The ships you thought you destroyed a century ago. We found them, rebuilt them, improved them. The Centauri survivors had been training on them for decades, waiting for this moment. The Confederation admiral's surface showed patterns of disbelief. Impossible. We eliminated their quantum technology capability. You eliminated what you could find, Sarah corrected. But humanity learned long ago. There's always someone watching from the shadows. We watched you destroy them. And then we helped them rebuild. The Centauri fleet moved into formation alongside the human ships. Their vessels, while smaller, carried the same advanced quantum technology. More importantly, they carried the burning memory of what had been done to their civilization. You have one chance, Sarah announced. Withdraw your forces. End the attacks on independent worlds. Help us establish a new order based on cooperation rather than domination. The Admiral's response came in the form of weapons fire. A full broadside aimed at the Hyperion. The energy beams, powerful enough to shatter moons, splashed harmlessly against the ship's quantum shields. So be it, Sarah said quietly. All ships, defensive pattern Delta. Protect the civilian populations at all costs. Show them why humanity spent centuries preparing for this day. The battle that followed would be remembered for generations. The Confederation fleet, despite their numerical advantage, found themselves facing technology they couldn't comprehend. Human and Centauri ships phased through their most powerful attacks, struck from impossible angles, and systematically disabled their weapons. Multiple Confederation vessels disabled, Marcus reported. Their quantum cores are destabilizing. They can't handle the feedback from our defensive fields. The Centauri fleet is performing perfectly, Yuki added. Their crews, they're broadcasting thanks, in every language they know. Sarah watched as the battle turned into a rout. The Confederation ships, their supposed technological superiority proved hollow, began retreating in disarray. But this was just one battle in what was becoming a much larger conflict. New quantum signatures detected, Marcus announced suddenly. Massive fleet movements across multiple sectors. The Confederation is mobilizing everything they have. They're broadcasting on all frequencies, Yuki reported, declaring a state of total war. They're ordering the extinction of any species that sides with humanity. Sarah's expression hardened. She'd hoped it wouldn't come to this, but they'd prepared for it nonetheless. Send the signal. Implementation code. Final Guardian. Throughout Confederation space, hidden quantum beacons activated. But these weren't communication devices. They were something far more profound. Quantum consciousness transfers, preserving the knowledge and culture of every species the Confederation had tried to suppress. Even if they destroy every world, every ship, every person who stands with us, Sarah broadcast across all frequencies, they cannot destroy what we've preserved. Freedom, knowledge, culture. They're all saved in quantum storage, ready to rebuild. The tactical display lit up with new signals as more protectorate worlds declared their independence. They'd seen humanity and the Centauri stand against the Confederation. They'd seen supposed superiors revealed as paper tigers. Most importantly, they'd seen hope. The Confederation will respond with everything they have, Marcus warned. Sarah nodded. Good. Let them come. Humanity spent centuries learning, preparing, evolving. We didn't just advance our technology. We advanced our understanding of freedom's price. She looked at the tactical display, watching as more and more worlds joined their cause. Send word to all allied worlds. The real war begins now. But this time, no civilization fights alone. The Hyperion's quantum drive engaged, preparing to meet the coming storm. Humanity had returned to the galactic stage, not just as liberators, but as guardians. The price of freedom would be high, but they would pay it together. The age of Confederation dominance was ending. The age of unity was about to begin. Echo of Earth. The Hyperion's quantum core pulsed with barely contained power as Sarah reviewed the latest battle reports. 3 weeks had passed since the Confederation declared total war, and the galaxy had erupted into chaos, controlled chaos, but chaos nonetheless. Status of the evacuation corridors, she asked, her augmented eyes scanning multiple tactical feeds simultaneously. Holding stable, Marcus replied. Quantum tunnels are maintaining integrity. We've evacuated 67% of threatened civilian populations to safe zones behind our lines. Sarah nodded. The Confederation's response to rebellion had been predictably brutal and predictably ineffective. They'd attempted to make examples of rebellious worlds, only to find their targets evacuated through quantum space corridors they couldn't detect, let alone block. New transmission from Earth Command. Yuki announced, her cybernetic systems automatically decrypting the quantum-encoded message. The Lazarus Protocol is ready. The bridge crew fell silent. Everyone knew what that meant. After centuries of preparation, humanity's ultimate answer to extinction-level threats was about to be revealed. "Show me," Sarah ordered. The main display activated, showing a massive construction hidden in quantum space. The structure defied conventional physics, its true nature masked by layers of dimensional shifting. But its purpose was clear enough. It was a cradle of creation. Project Echo is online. The transmission from Earth Command confirmed. The quantum template is stable. We can begin restoration of destroyed worlds immediately. Sarah felt a weight lift from her shoulders. This was why humanity had waited so long, had prepared so carefully. Not just to fight. Anyone could fight. They had prepared to restore, to rebuild, to ensure that no species would ever face what humanity had faced, the loss of their cradle world. Alert from the frontier, Marcus cut in. The Confederation has deployed their doomsday weapons. Multiple worlds in the Orion Spur are reporting planetary bombardment. "Show me," Sarah commanded, though she already knew what she would see. The tactical display updated, showing Confederation world killer ships unleashing devastating attacks on former Protectorate worlds. They were trying to make good on their threat, to destroy any civilization that dared side with humanity. But they didn't understand what they were really facing. "Initiate Echo Protocol," Sarah ordered. "Authorization, Chen Alpha 70. Let's show them why humanity spent centuries mastering quantum engineering." Across the affected sectors, massive quantum fields began to manifest. The Confederation weapons fired, and their attacks passed through planets that were no longer entirely in normal space. "Phase shift successful," Marcus reported, his voice tight with controlled excitement. "All targeted worlds are safe in quantum space. The Confederation bombardment is hitting empty space." Sarah allowed herself a small smile. "Now show them what we can really do." Activate the Lazarus cradles. In sectors the Confederation had already attacked, where they thought they'd reduced worlds to lifeless rocks, new quantum signatures began to appear. The massive construction they'd glimpsed earlier wasn't alone. It was one of hundreds, scattered throughout the galaxy. "Quantum restoration beginning," Yuki reported. "First wave of destroyed biospheres coming back online. The preserved quantum templates are integrating perfectly." On the tactical display, dead worlds began to bloom. Atmospheres reformed, oceans reappeared, and carefully preserved quantum patterns of all the life that had existed on those worlds began to reassert themselves. "Impossible," came the transmission from the Confederation command. "You cannot reverse planetary destruction. You cannot." "We can." Sarah cut them off. "We learned how when we lost Earth. We spent centuries perfecting the process. Every world you destroy, we can restore. Every species you try to exterminate, we can bring back." She paused, letting the implications sink in. "You still don't understand what you're facing. We're not just another civilization with advanced technology. We are humanity. We lost our home, watched our world burn, fled into the darkness. And we swore, never again. Not to us, not to anyone." The tactical display showed more Confederation world killer ships powering up their weapons. They were committed to their path of destruction, even in the face of its futility. "All ships, execute containment protocol," Sarah ordered. "Selective quantum fielding only. Disable their weapons, preserve their crews." The human fleet moved with practiced precision, their quantum technology allowing them to phase through Confederation defenses as if they weren't there. One by one, the world killer ships found their weapon systems enveloped in quantum fields that prevented any energy discharge. "Send the final warning," Sarah commanded. Show them what Earth looks like now. The transmission went out across all frequencies. Images of Earth, restored from its devastation, transformed into something even more beautiful than it had been before, a testament to humanity's mastery over quantum engineering and a promise to all species. Extinction was no longer the end. "They're standing down," Marcus reported after a long moment. "Confederation command is. They're requesting terms." Sarah nodded slowly. "Send them our response. Unconditional surrender, immediate cessation of all hostilities, and preparation for a complete reorganization of galactic society." She looked at the tactical display, watching as more dead worlds came back to life. The age of single-species dominion is over. The age of quantum restoration begins. The Hyperion's quantum core hummed with power, ready to continue its work. Humanity had returned to the galactic stage, not just as liberators or guardians, but as restorers. They had mastered not just the power to destroy, but the far greater power to rebuild. The price of freedom had been high, but the reward would reshape the galaxy itself. Dawn of Unity. 1 year after the Confederation's surrender, the Hyperion orbited a reborn Earth, its quantum fields rippling gently in the sunlight. Sarah stood at her familiar place on the observation deck, but this time she watched delegates from 1,000 worlds arrive for the first Galactic Concordat. Final delegations approaching, Marcus reported from his station. The Centauri ships are escorting the last Confederation representatives. Sarah nodded, her augmented eyes tracking the arriving vessels. Each one represented a different species, a different culture, all coming together to forge something unprecedented in galactic history, true unity without dominion. "Quantum architecture is stable," Yuki added. "The Great Assembly Hall is ready to receive all delegates simultaneously." The hall was humanity's latest achievement, a quantum space construct that could host representatives from every known civilization in conditions perfectly suited to their individual biological needs. A physical manifestation of the new order they were building. "Status of the knowledge nexus?" Sarah asked. "Online and integrating," Marcus replied. "We're receiving technological and cultural databases from all participating species. The quantum networks are processing and cross-referencing everything." This was perhaps their greatest victory, convincing every species, including the former Confederation, to share their knowledge freely. The age of technological suppression was over. Now, advancement would come through cooperation. "They're ready for you, Commander," Yuki announced softly. Sarah straightened her uniform and took a deep breath. "Begin transmission." The quantum field around her shifted, and suddenly she stood in the Great Assembly Hall, her form projected simultaneously to every delegation. Around her, representatives from across the galaxy waited. Former enemies and allies alike, all equal now. "Welcome to Earth," she began, her words translated instantly into thousands of languages. "A year ago, many of you saw this world as proof of the Confederation's power, the dead homeworld of a species that dared to resist. Today, it stands as proof of something else. That destruction is never final. That extinction is no longer forever." She gestured, and the hall's quantum field displayed images of restored worlds across the galaxy. "We've shown that technology suppressed is potential wasted. That knowledge shared is power multiplied. That unity doesn't require uniformity." The former Confederation delegates' crystalline forms showed patterns of acceptance. They'd learned this lesson well over the past year. Their own worlds had been transformed by access to quantum technology, their society enriched by the very diversity they'd once feared. "But our greatest challenge lies ahead," Sarah continued. "The galaxy is vast, and we've only begun to explore its potential. There are more species to meet, more civilizations to welcome, more knowledge to share." The quantum field shifted again, showing the massive exploration fleets being constructed in shipyards across former Confederation space. But these weren't warships. They were discovery vessels, built through collaboration between multiple species. Humanity returned to the stars not to conquer, but to ensure that no species ever faces extinction alone. We developed quantum restoration not just for ourselves, but for all who might need it. And now we offer something more, a future where every civilization can reach its full potential. She paused, looking at each delegation in turn. The Concordat we signed today isn't just a peace treaty or a trade agreement. It's a promise that together we are stronger than any force that would divide us. That knowledge shared cannot be suppressed. That life, in all its forms, will be preserved. The hall's quantum field hummed with energy as representatives from every world stood in agreement. Even the former Confederation worlds, their crystalline delegates glowing with new patterns of understanding. Let this be the moment, Sarah declared, when we move beyond the cycle of dominion and rebellion. When we embrace the truth that advancement without wisdom is meaningless and power without purpose is empty. The quantum field coalesced, forming the Concordat document in formats readable by every species present. One by one, they began to sign, not in submission to a greater power, but in commitment to a greater purpose. We offer this pledge, Sarah continued as she added her own signature, not just to ourselves, but to every civilization we have yet to meet. You are not alone. Your knowledge is valuable. Your uniqueness is your strength. And together, we will explore not just the stars, but the full potential of life itself. As the last signatures were added, the great assembly hall blazed with light. Thousands of quantum cores activating in harmony, symbolizing the new connection between all participating worlds. The Hyperion sensors registered quantum signals from across the galaxy, celebrations erupting on countless worlds as news of the Concordat spread. But Sarah's attention was drawn to a small display showing new quantum signatures at the galaxy's edge. New contact, Marcus reported quietly. Unknown configuration. They appear to be watching. Sarah smiled. Good. Let them watch. Let them see what unity really means. She turned back to the assembled delegates. The real work begins now. We have a galaxy to explore, civilizations to meet, and a future to build, together. The quantum field pulsed one final time, recording this moment for all time. Humanity had returned to the stars not as conquerors or victims, but as catalysts for something greater than any single species could achieve alone. The age of unity had truly begun.